My nephew Nathan, 20 years old, towers over me with a quiet strength that makes you take notice. When he suggested renting a trailer and heading to the mountains of Great Smoky Mountains, Tennessee for a week, I was caught off guard. His grin, boyish and sly, reminded me of the kid who'd charm his way out of trouble. "Just you and me, Aunt Clara," he said. "Snow a fire, some peace." After a long holiday grind, the idea of a week in the wild was too good to pass up. We packed warm clothes, a chessboard, a few books for quiet nights. Nathan planned it all, rented the trailer, mapped the route, even packed the food. The drive was long, but the frost-covered trees along the road gleamed like something out of a dream, each branch heavy with ice. When we reached a secluded trailer park nestled in a snowy valley, a hush settled over me. It was beautiful. Just us, the mountains, and the crackle of a fire. Days melted into each other, and our bond grew in ways I hadn't expected. Mornings we hiked through silent forests, boots crunching on untouched snow. At lunch we sipped hot cocoa steam curling between us. Nights we talked by the campfire with other campers, the glow casting shadows on his face. The mundane stuff from home felt easy here. Nathan opened up his hopes, fears, secrets he'd kept locked away. I saw him differently, not just as the kid I'd watched grow up, but as a man steady and sure. I realized I hadn't trusted him like this since his uncle and I split. After one long hike, we trudged back to the trailer. Cheeks flushed from the biting cold. Nathan insisted on cooking a simple pasta dish, but it tasted like heaven. Under the soft glow of the trailer's lamp, his presence filled the space, warm and effortless. "Thanks for this, Nate," I said, using an old nickname I'd nearly forgotten. His blue eyes met mine, and the air sparked alive with something unspoken. "It's good to be here with you," he said, voice low. "Feels like we forgot how to really talk, caught up in life." He was right. Work routine, the daily grind, it had stolen our connection. That night, the wind howled outside, rattling the trailer, but inside we were quiet. Nathan read, and I stared out the window, watching snow drift down soft as a whisper. I was grateful for him, for the man he'd become, for the effort he'd put into this trip. His care ran deep, a quiet devotion I hadn't seen before. The mountains had a magic to them, turning every moment into a scene you'd swear was staged. Nathan seemed hell-bent on making it unforgettable. Next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee, rich and welcoming. Nathan stood at the trailer's tiny bedroom doorway, mug in hand, a grin breaking across his face. "Morning sleepyhead," he teased. "Breakfast in bed for my favorite hiking partner." I laughed, pulling the blanket tight. "Favorite, I heard you groaning on that last mile yesterday." He handed me the mug, his fingers brushing mine. "Gotta keep you moving, keep you smiling. That's my selfless act." The coffee was perfect, just how I like it. Outside, snow fell. Inside, the trailer was so still it felt like the world had vanished, leaving just us. "Thanks, Nate," I said, meeting his eyes. "This is amazing." He shrugged but didn't look away. "You deserve it, Aunt Clara. You do so much for everyone. It's your turn to be taken care of." His words lingered as we spent the morning in the trailer's warmth. Nathan suggested another trail nearby. The winter air stung, wrapping us in layers as we set out. The forest was silent, save for the crunch of our boots. Long stretches of quiet were broken by his jokes, his witty banter. When I complained about the cold, he said the frost on my hat made me look like a survival movie star. I swatted him with my glove, his laugh echoing through the trees. But as night fell, things turned strange. On an icy trail back to the trailer, my foot slipped and I went down hard, pain shooting through my leg. Aunt Clara Nathan was at my side, his hands steady, gentle, helping me up. "You okay?" he asked, voice tight with worry. "My leg?" I grimaced, trying to move. The pain was sharp, unrelenting. Without a word, he scooped me up, carrying me like I weighed nothing. "No arguing," he said, firm but soft. "You're not walking on that." I tried to protest, but his grin stopped me. "I've been training for this moment." Despite the pain, I laughed. His warmth against the cold, the strength of his arms made me feel safe like I hadn't in years. Back at the trailer, he set me on the small couch, propping my leg with a pillow and packing it with ice. Kneeling beside me, he said, "We'll head home tomorrow, but you're not moving tonight. Tell me what you need." Exhausted, the pain kept me awake. Late that night, I woke shivering, the cold seeping through the trailer's walls. A fever had crept in, hot and disorienting. "Nathan," I whispered, barely audible. He was there instantly, his face etched with fear. "What's wrong?" He touched my forehead. "You're burning up and freezing." Before I could speak, he climbed onto the couch, wrapping me in his arms, pulling the blanket tight. "You need to warm up," he said, voice steady. I leaned into his chest, his heartbeat a steady rhythm, his warmth chasing away the chill. His hand moved gently across my back, soothing, protective. "Thanks," I murmured, voice heavy with sleep. "Always," he whispered, his lips brushing my hair, a gesture too tender to ignore. "I'll always look out for you." In that moment, wrapped in his warmth, I felt closer to him than ever. Our bond had shifted, unexplainable, undeniable. For the first time in years, I let myself rely on someone, trusting I wasn't alone. As I drifted off, I thought about how this trip had changed us, how it had rewritten what we were to each other. Morning came with the smell of something cooking, warm and comforting. My leg ached, but the blanket's coziness and the aroma eased me. I sat up, wincing. Nathan was at the tiny kitchen counter, humming softly, his back to me. "Morning," I called, voice rough. He turned, his smile bright as sunlight. "Look who's up, sleepyhead. Breakfast's almost ready. How's the leg? Sore, but better than last night?" I said. He nodded, his brow furrowing with concern. "Made you toast and eggs. Eat, then we're hitting the hospital." I laughed softly. "No arguing, not a chance," he said, handing me a plate, his care wrapping around me like a blanket. As I ate, watching him clean up, a love I couldn't name swelled in my chest. "Thanks, Nate," I said, catching his eye. For what he asked, smile softening. For being you. For taking care of me. He held my gaze, his cheeks flushing slightly. "Always, Aunt Clara." The drive down the mountain was smooth, the snow-draped scenery still breathtaking. Nathan kept checking on me, his hand brushing mine as he adjusted the heater, skipping songs he thought I'd hate. At the hospital, he helped me out, his hand steady on mine. While the doctors checked my leg, his hand rested on my shoulder. "Just a bad strain," the doctor said, strapping my leg. "Rest a few days, you'll be fine." Nathan's relief was palpable, his grin teasing. "You're happier than me," I joked. "Someone's gotta worry about you," he shot back. Back home, I sank into the familiar comfort of my couch. Nathan brought blankets, tea, the remote fussing over me like I was fragile. "You don't have to do everything I said." He poked his head around the corner, grinning slyly. "You deserve to be spoiled. Let me take care of you for a change." And he did. For days he cooked, cleaned, sat with me through my favorite shows. I hadn't felt this cared for in years, hadn't realized how much I missed it. But a few nights later, everything shifted. We were on the couch, the TV's soft glow casting shadows across the room. Nathan sat close, his arm draped casually across the back, my leg propped on a pillow. The silence between us was easy intimate in its quiet. Then he spoke, his voice heavy, serious. "Aunt Clara, I need to tell you something." My heart skipped a pulse of unease. I turned to face him. "What's wrong?" He hesitated, eyes dropping to his hands. "I've been thinking about us, about how things have changed." My breath caught, heart racing. "What do you mean?" I asked, voice steady but thin. He leaned forward, eyes open, unguarded. "I care about you more than just as my aunt. I know it's hard and I shouldn't say this, but I love you not just as family, but as someone I admire, respect, want to be with all the time." His voice softened, raw with truth. The air grew heavy, charged with his confession. My chest ached, torn by the weight of his words, his courage. "Nate!" I started, voice trembling, caught in a storm of feelings I couldn't name. He'd been there day after day, his care a lifeline. I felt something too, something I was afraid to touch. "It's okay," he said quickly, a fragile smile breaking through. "You don't have to say anything. I just couldn't hold it in anymore." Tears pricked my eyes. I reached for his hand. "You mean so much to me, Nate," I said, voice barely holding. "What we have is special and I treasure it." He squeezed my hand, searching my eyes for something I wasn't sure I could give. In that moment, we were bound on a path neither of us fully understood. His words lingered soft as falling snow, beautiful and heavy. His blue eyes held mine, bright with quiet hope, comforting and terrifying. Without thinking, I leaned in, wrapping him in a tight embrace as if letting go would shatter us. His arms were solid, his warmth swallowing me whole. Nothing else mattered, not the questions, not the fear, just us. "Nate, you mean the world to me," I whispered, voice breaking. "That matters." He pulled me closer, his breath warm against my hair. "I was scared to tell you," he murmured. "Couldn't keep it in." I pulled back, running a hand through his hair, a gesture from his childhood that felt different now, heavier with care. "You're braver than I'll ever be," I said softly. "I'm here for you always." His small, real smile lit a warmth in me. We stayed like that, holding each other, the world fading away. Then I shifted, wincing at the pain in my leg. "Let me help," he said, concern flooding back. He adjusted the pillow, his hands gentle, then to my surprise began massaging my leg, careful around the bandage. "This hurt?" he asked, fingers slow, deliberate. I shook my head. "Feels good?" His touch was tender, not just easing the pain, but carrying a deeper care, like I was the only thing that mattered. My chest tightened, a feeling too big to name. I touched his cheek. "You're too good to me, Nate," I said softly. "I don't know why I got so lucky." His hand paused, his eyes unreadable. "Not luck," he said quietly. "It's always been like this." Something unspoken hung between us, a quiet understanding we didn't voice. I let myself sink into his warmth, his hands moving rhythmically, bringing a rare peace. "Want me to stay tonight?" he asked, after a long silence, voice cautious. I nodded without hesitation. "Sounds good." His smile was shy, almost boyish. He pulled the blanket over us, turned off the TV, the room dim under the glow of a single lamp. He took my hand, his touch steady, and I leaned into his shoulder, his breathing a soft anchor. The silence was full, heavy with feelings too deep for words. I closed my eyes, letting myself rest. Over the next few days, something shifted, subtle but real. It wasn't dramatic just there in the way he held my hand longer when helping me to the kitchen, the warmth in his eyes that wasn't just familial pride. Nights on the couch grew closer, our connection both familiar and strange, unspoken but growing stronger. One night, as we sat in quiet peace, Nathan leaned in his head, resting against mine, catching me off guard. "Ever think what it'd be like if it was just us in the world?" he asked, voice barely a whisper. His vulnerability hit me hard, heart pounding. "What do you mean?" I asked softly. He fidgeted with the blanket's edge. "No expectations, no one else to worry about. Just us taking care of each other." His words stirred a mix of feelings I couldn't untangle. "Sounds peaceful," I said. "But life's not that simple, Nate. You know that." He nodded, eyes steady. "I know, but I wish it was." I laced my fingers with his voice firm. "Whatever happens, we'll figure it out together." Something stirred deep inside his gaze, holding mine. "I don't think I've ever loved anyone the way I love you," he said, a confession that landed like a stone. I pulled him close, holding him like letting go would break us. "I love you too," I whispered, the words carrying a weight I hadn't understood until then, a promise beyond family. We were caught in something bigger, something we couldn't name. "I want to hear from you. If your world shifted like mine, what would you do? How would you face it? Share below."